again, the thing about their pathway, right? So people have agendas, and they're like certain things that need to happen, and we need certain data and all the things. But I guess I'm a disruptor.
For sure.
But I feel like if ever I'm met with a person who thinks I'm doing too much, my question to them is, my statement to them is they must not be doing enough. Because if what I'm doing is working for the student, then your concern is none of my business. Right? Like if the kid is getting what they need and they are able to see past their current situation as a result of my too much, then respectfully, you need to mind your business.
Oh.
Respectfully, you know.
What does the young kids say? Clock that T.
So, I mean, that's how I've addressed it. And I mean, I guess.
Well, look, okay, so I know roots, rhythms, and restoration. That's what we're going to do today, roots, rhythms, and restoration. Welcome to another episode of the Heartwood Podcast. I'm your co-host, Dr. Thomas Rashard Easley. Of course, my other brothers, Isaac and Bennett, are managing everything in the background. They keep everything fresh and good. And today, I'm speaking with one friend of mine that I do know, Sharyn Lopez, but with a new, hopefully will become friend, Candi. And I want to say, I don't call your last name, I apologize.
Fulcher.
Okay, Candi Fulcher. Now, today, since we're talking about roots, rhythm, and restoration, we're going to kind of flow. Sharyn and I have done work in the past with youth in particular, helping them, we call it righting our wrongs, or really righting their wrongs, because the students were addressing things that they were up against that's not their fault. And we created poetry, music, and I just thank you so much for how because you galvanized and brought those students every week or every time we met, and then you and I would organize, strategize how we would do it. So I just want to say thank you.
It was fun.
For that. It was it, And I think something that came out of that, though, is we care about, we know a lot of things are under attack today, whether we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. However, I do think that because we care about supporting people, and I know you're coming from the medical side of things, we're going to get into that. I'd like to start us off with talking about what fuels or informs your commitment, because I know that you're committed, but to equity in your industry, and I'd just like to know in your life, because I know you, so you're great. I'm assuming that you're great, but there may be other things outside of the medical industry, because you're not just that. I know you have other parts of you. So can we just dive into that and take it from there?
Yeah, what's first? You want to get started?
Okay. I think what the question was gets me grounded in equity.
Yeah, equity, or like what got you there, but then what fuels your commitment to?
Yeah. So what fuels my commitment, I think, is my lived experience, right? Okay. So okay. I work in education. I've worked in education my entire career, and my goal has always been to be the thing that I didn't have in school, in school, right? At home, my parents were involved. All the things. I have older sisters. Family is very invested, but I have a lot of friends and peers who didn't have that home experience. And when they were in school settings, they got treated a certain way, maybe because their parents weren't as involved, or they weren't as interested in learning, right? So that investment for them wasn't there. Okay. So when I decided to go into education, my goal was to be that person for other students. And what keeps me motivated is the moment when you see them get whatever it is you're trying to show them, right? So once they have that moment, that's the thing that kind of keeps me motivated to continue to show up every day to work, because that can be a challenge. But when they get it, when they get whatever the thing is, right? If it's a math problem, if it's civil engagement, right? Whatever it is, when they get that moment, that kind of pushes me to continue the work that I do.
I have to admit, you remind me of my mom and the way you're talking. So my mother was an educator.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
She taught for 25 years, then retired and went back, taught for another 3 or 5. And when I asked her about how does she serve or help her students, one thing she said something similar, right? I want them to have what I had in ways like in our community that helped her. That's what she gave to the young people that say they had, like a mental health challenges or something. She never demonized it at all. She was just like, special touch. We're going to work with it. We'll figure it out. But then she also said what she didn't have, which is that part of not demonizing. She was like, I'm going to make sure that they know that they're okay and so on and so forth. And I would just watch her, like do that. Now, of course, I would hear frustration when they do something else too. It's like, to me, it was the equal balance. I love them, but, so do you have some of that too? I'm just curious.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely. Because sometimes they'll get it and they still, they'll get the lesson, they'll understand what you want them to do and they still won't act right. But I think having somebody who is like understanding, like your child, it's not everybody takes time to like fully get it, right? So we may have had the conversation, you may have understood what I'm trying to say, but you being able to apply that, you might not be ready for that yet, right? So you got to kind of support them through that. And like understand that every time you were taught something, you didn't automatically get it the first time. So you just have to be mindful of how you engage them, right? And like meet them where you are, right? So, or where they are. So like you were saying, your mother said, like some people have special touch, right? And like, you have to meet them where they are to get them where they want to go. And sometimes you have to show them where they can go because they don't even know that they're capable of going beyond what they see or what they know.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. So now, and I apologize, I know I just mentioned medical, but he was talking about education. I know we met in the education, but I know you have another background, so that's why I went through. So I just want to apologize for that and acknowledge that. So how about you coming in with multiple backgrounds? What fuels your commitment to how you do this in your work and in life?
Right on. So I think it's important to acknowledge that all of our mothers are educators, right? So I'm also inspired, right, by sort of that service, the act of living a life of service, and that also very much informs my day-to-day work. I'm a patient advocate now, but previously I managed student and family engagement. So I had the opportunity to really sort of pull from principles of education, teaching, my personal background in family therapy also informs sort of my work. So when I think of equity and where I gather or pull my inspiration from, I'm a pastor's daughter. My mother is also a retired teacher, so I very much saw a life of service. And so when I think of how I really identify as an advocate, I was able to be an advocate when I worked in nonprofit organizations, be it with children, youth, the elders. I previously worked as an advocate, as an academic advisor at Central Connecticut State University, supporting those young adults in that period of their life. So when I take a step back and I look at all of my work, the intersection is always advocacy. So to your point, right, education and how to help people navigate those spaces of learning, those folks need care. And so now I'm in healthcare. And so as a patient advocate, I'm looking at them as a whole person and understanding that their sort of lived experiences, levels of education, all sort of inform their capacity to advocate for themselves. So meeting them where they are, I feel like all of my previous work really has helped me be the best advocate that I could be right now in terms of like the healthcare system that I represent or support. So really what informs it is being present, being aligned with, I have a purpose and that's to advocate. And I really like aligned with that identity of being a servant and being a happy helper.
Ooh, okay. Wait a minute. I gotta just a little bit. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I do want to know. I appreciate how you said pastor's daughter and not preacher's kid. I'd love to know. Because to me, when y'all hear that, it's like, it changes the vibe.
It does something to your spirit.
Yeah. So, but you both just shared how. I didn't get the impression that everything that you do, you were trained to do. Okay? And so, like, there's something I would feel is like natural, as you will, or from your lived experience. I want to know, and I want to try to finagle this correctly, okay? You mentioned patient advocate. I want to know, why does a patient need an advocate? You mentioned how sometimes that they that, that they may not get the lesson, but there's a little bit extra. Why do they need extra? So what I'm trying to ask is, to me, you are obviously a part of industries or professions that have a structure, but there's something that you do that's not technically in that structure, and maybe once you're done, it's now added. Why is that? So it's not about you, it's actually about the structure, what I'm asking about. Like, why is that?
That's loaded.
I mean, racism.
Lay that out.
I mean, so
100%.
right, like I think systems, right? Whether we're talking about education, we're talking about the healthcare system, right? I primarily serve students of color, right?
Okay.
Intentionally, right?
Okay.
And the systems that exist related to education are not set up for everyone's success in the same way, right? Something that keeps coming up is like both of my sisters also work in education. One of my sisters teaches third grade, the other is a principal. But third grade test scores determine how many prisons are going to be built, right? And historically, people of color don't test well on standardized testing, right? So that is a statistic that somebody thought about, and money is made off of that, right? So that same money that's being used to build these prisons could be reinvested into education, right? Schools are funded based on property tax, right? So how many people in certain communities own property can pay property tax, right? So there are things that are bigger than me, right, that create these problems, and there is also something bigger than me that motivates me to get up every day to address those problems, right? And I think as much as, people are well-meaning and want to do the best, the system that we have inherited is built where people like us are needed, right? Right. So like, even though I have a big family, I have a great family, certain opportunities and everything are not afforded to everyone, right? So there have to be people in the world that kind of counteract the systems. And I think, like, despite all of the different places that I've been in, my role has always been the same. And it's always been related to, right, advocating, but also like educating the students on the system, right? And like, you're not super excited about this class, but you need this class to get to this place. You're not super excited about this particular teacher, but you have to learn how to navigate people you don't like to be successful in the world, right? So all skills are transferable. So you may not like calculus, but there's something you're going to learn in that space that you're going to need when you grow up, right? So you need to look at what are the skills that I can get from this space that are transferable, not the fact that you don't like math.
Wow. Yes, ma'am. That's Alabama company. Yes, ma'am. All right, I received that.
And so all of that informs your ability to advocate for yourself when you are looking for healthcare, when you show up to your appointment, when you're engaging with your provider. So that provider had to go through several years of schooling, informing them about population health, communities of color. And so often what I find has missed is the training that prepares these providers to enter these communities, that they're incentivized to join so that their loans can be like forgiven at some point. There are, apart from being matched in residencies and things like that, there are programs that support the relocation of providers to go into urban communities, be there for 5 years or so, and that will significantly reduce their loans. And so I've had the opportunity during my years of working in healthcare to meet these providers that come into these communities energized, not just to be a part of them, but to also benefit from that incentive. Okay. So when we think about the patient and we think about perhaps a person who has maybe struggled academically or has an individualized education plan, perhaps might have already been labeled as behaviorally complex, right? Often get labeled in the healthcare space as aggressive or as volatile, non-compliant, unable to understand the plan of care. And so there's a fine line between, do they understand the person that they're serving? And does the patient understand that that system is not prepared to recognize the totality of who they are, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so I am there as an advocate to keep them at the center, right? The provider's there, you have 5-10 minutes max because you have 100 other patients to see in the emergency department. So I have to stay with you, and I say have to because apart from that being my job, I sincerely feel a responsibility to stay at bedside until that encounter is completed. And that is to make sure that someone perhaps, like I recently was really deeply impacted by, he was a 50-year-old male on the spectrum, 7th grade education, reached out to our office for an advocate because he was not feeling heard. He was previously called security to have him removed, and he was afraid to go back to the emergency department. He really needed care, but he was afraid, and his capacity to inform his fear or to express his fear was coming out in rage and frustration, right? I saw one of my youth that we used to work with, right?
Okay.
So I'm able to look at him and say, okay, I get it. You're scared. Come to the emergency department. I'll meet you and I'll be there with you. To begin to disarm someone who's justifiably upset because a system that already potentially has failed him in the education space,
7th grade education, he's 50-something.
is now expected to navigate health complexities that are life-changing, but the system sees him as non-compliant and potentially violent. So my work requires me to offer grace and compassion at bedside, but to also demand accountability from providers to make sure that the next time he or someone else like him, right, come in, they're prepared to see the totality of a person, even if you only have 5 minutes at bedside.
Something just got me. I love when you said the non-compliant, violent, because when I think about the industries that we're a part of, that's how I describe them now, not the people who are in them. You know, so I look at my industry, you know, just thinking about forestry and how I was trained, you know, to steward, but we say managed. And when I look at in our interview yesterday, we were sitting there talking. It was so much fun too, just like this is. We were sitting in the room, it's all wood, and the way that our guest described it was beautiful. But they were talking about, but these are also ancestors too, because the process it went for them to get here, you know, and it was not a nice, gentle process. And so as I'm listening to you to describe education, you know, describe having to be an advocate, and I've had to be in a hospital. I am an educator. I've seen how I have had to actively, because of what my students would be facing, you know, I wish I was here when these two were here, but but I'm glad that I connected. But whenever I'm around them, you know, I still always ask about their experience. What's going on? How is it going? Because when I was here, if I heard something I didn't want to hear, really, that's going on? And I would say, what do you want me to do? First, I need to know what you want me to do so you know what I'm about to do. And then I'll tell you this is what you should expect. But if you don't tell me to move, I may not move, or I'm going to move in a way that won't come back to you because I don't want to out you. I want you to feel that you have an advocate. And I actually never used that word to describe myself in the work that I was doing here, but that is really, what I was. So I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you for that. Okay, now, I didn't get too deep. We're just going to keep it going.
Hence the rhythm and the flow.
That's right. Okay.
Very good. Very good.
Okay, now, so you know how with how we did the poetry.
Yeah.
Okay, work with it. That was so much fun.
It was fun.
And I learned so much about them. I remember being that I was new to New Haven. Okay, I know that you're not new to Connecticut, but I think it was something like, being in another park kind of coming down, so it's, kind of new. And I know that this is not new for you, but when you're working with the beautiful youth children of all ages, obviously, what do you learn, or what did you learn about what did you learn about the students that you're impacting? What did you learn about them and their experience coming in? Because, one, you've already described the system, but what do you learn about them? Like, I felt like what I learned is that when we were working, these students wanted to be heard, but they weren't accustomed to it. They wanted to share. They're so talented, but they didn't really have a chance to display it. And there are times when they were so shy, but that encouragement, they would speak up, So I'd just like to know, what is it that you're learning, or that you learn about the community that you're serving, or about the students that you're serving?
I mean, we have a lot. We learned a lot.
So, in a more recent role that I've held, which is a part of a capstone course, our students have to do a portfolio, they have to do a senior project, they have to do a research paper, and then they have to do a defense at the end. And I managed that program. So I think many of the things you were saying are very much true about the students that I work with, in that they very much want to be heard, but they're not accustomed to it, so they're frightened by sharing, right? So a lot of the work that I've had to do is make them comfortable enough or trust me enough to hold the space for them to share, right, in a way that they feel like it's a safe space, right? So at the end of the year, the seniors have to present in front of their peers, in front of their parents, in some cases, and they're essentially graded on this, right? It determines whether or not they graduate. So they have to write about it, they have to practice their presentation, they have to connect with an organization to kind of serve them and discuss how their power or leadership connects to making change happen in their community. Okay. So I think the thing I've learned the most is you can get any kid to do just about anything if you can get them to trust you, right? If you can get them to trust you, you can get them to do the thing. I've had students come into class knowing, right, because this is a 4-year process and your senior year is the payoff. Freshman, sophomore, junior year, they're my best friend. Everything's wonderful. Everybody loves Miss Candi. Senior year, they walk into class. I'm not doing this, miss. I said, okay, well, you're not going to graduate, right? This is, the option is you do it, you graduate. You don't do it, you don't graduate. I'm not doing anything to you. No one's forcing you to. These are your options. You have to pick from, right? But you have to be comfortable enough to share. You have to be comfortable enough to show up. If you show up, I will get you to the finish line, but you have to show up, right? And once they see that I'm going to be there, if they miss the appointment, they can come next time. Once they realize that I mean what I say in all aspects of it, you're not going to graduate if you don't do it. And also, if you need help, I'm going to help you. Once they see that, you can kind of talk them into doing anything, especially if you explain to them that the end goal is their success, right? I get paid to be, right? I get paid to be at work, but also your goal is to be successful, whatever that means to you, right? And I also don't put restraints on what that means, right? Yes. Success for them is what it is for them, right? So whatever your goal is, my job is to get you to that goal. Not anybody else's goal, not anybody else's dream or pathway for you, but your goal for yourself. But you have to show up. And if they show up, I show up, and then we can get them to the finish line. Okay.
I got another question, but I'm on the way. Something about that I gotta ask. But yes.
Well, that makes me think that's exactly the mindset that informs my work now. You gotta show up. I'm going to help you to reach your goal, which is essentially the health outcome of whatever your plan of care is, right? So if that is reducing your blood sugar, right? Actually showing up to your appointments, removing those barriers. But to your question about that specific project that we were a part of and that work managing student and family engagement, I think what I learned there, people appreciate, young people and their caregivers appreciate follow through. So someone who not just expresses sort of commitment, right, to supporting your child, but is able to be there at every benchmark, hold them accountable, to your point, and then celebrate them. I think they appreciate the full circle, because when we're, again, talking about those systems that are essentially designed not to allow celebration, right, in communities. I think Common Ground taught me the value of celebration in community, because I think that was something that was really different for me when it came to working with youth and families. And I agree. I think that working with those specific youth, they were sort of, quote, culture tells them, hey, you have a voice. Then they were put in a learning space that said, hey, you have it. We're building the confidence to believe you that are able to use it. And then there's the individuals that essentially are prepared to seeing you through completion of that academic year. And so my role as student engagement manager was, okay, you said you have an idea for a project or a club. Okay, let's brainstorm that. And so I would pick apart those ideas and then, okay, that sounds like bioethics club or a debate club. And so getting them together and then organically teaching them follow through. And I think that was incredibly meaningful, not just for the young people, but for me, because I left that space with the language of dismantling systems of oppression, being a partner, having power, leading with that vision. So when I came into or stepped back into healthcare, you would have thought I was a social justice warrior, baby. I was at these meetings so sure and confident that I was there ready to be a disruptor. And so coincidentally, I've been dubbed that. And so there's probably some shade and a level of microaggression in there, but I'm here for it and I embrace it. So yes, the disruptor shows up with big curly hair and big hoop earrings. I'm the only one that looks like me. But when we have conversations largely about representation, whether it be in education or healthcare, we have to have these like one-on-one experiences with young people in the classroom to really understand the larger scope of navigating all of these systems in the world.
Ooh, okay, wait a minute. Got to go off script again. Next question. What do you do when, or have you heard, but I assume that this is a win. What do you do when someone tells you, I think you're doing too much for them, for the student? I've had that when I'm going to work with folks. Sometimes you need to pull back. You need to, and I'm like I don't know what I'm doing. Like I don't know the community that I'm serving or the people who I'm working for. And whenever I heard it, I'm interviewing y'all. I'm not gonna share my feelings. Sure. I just like to know what have you heard that before? Like in the work that you do. And what did you do? How did you handle it? I'm not gonna ask what was said. I understand. We'll keep the names off. Because everybody's still working. But what did you do? How did you feel? And you don't have to give the detail. I know, but could you maybe just describe, just give us a little bit more context of what was going on at the time?
So an example for me, I think, is again related to my work with seniors and again, the thing about their pathway, right? So people have agendas and they're like certain things that need to happen and we need certain data and all the things. I guess I'm a disruptor.
For sure.
But I feel like if ever I'm met with a person who thinks I'm doing too much, my question to them is, my statement to them is they must not be doing enough. Because if what I'm doing is working for the student, then your concern is none of my business. Right? Like if the kid is getting what they need and they are able to see past their current situation as a result of my too much, then respectfully, you need to mind your business.
Oh. Respectfully.
Respectfully.
What does the young kids say? Clock that T.
So, I mean, that's how I've addressed it. And I mean, fortunately, I guess, the energy I present in workspaces, people don't tend to question my approach very often, because I I make good on my approach, right? So like I have a positive outcome or positive connection, even to the point of like something I thought about, even like celebrating the students is always wonderful, but also being in a space where even when they fail, they feel comfortable to come back, right? So I have a student who we worked really hard to get to go to college. Like it was a team effort, and he didn't do the best. And was upset with himself that he had disappointed us, right? But he still showed up and he took accountability for like, I know I didn't do the best I could have done, and like a lot happened, and it was an adjustment for him and all the things. But I think thinking about how we worked with him when he was a student at the high school, and like what is a lesson, even if it doesn't go the way you want it to go, what's the lesson? Right? What's the skill? What's the transferable thing that you can take and use? And now he's reset himself and has decided to go back to school, right? And needed help and felt comfortable enough to come back and get the help, opposed to like, well, I disappointed them, I can never go back and like ever talk to them again. He showed up, hat in hand, and was like, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I learned my lesson. But now I need help because I'm trying to get back on to what I was doing before. And you show up, I show up. So we sat down, we got it done, and, things will hopefully be different now.
I mean, to me, that aligns on what you're saying with the follow through. But also this piece that you said, as you said, my energy I show up with. My things will get questioned very often. I'm like, I feel that energy too. I'm intrigued and interested, curious. But it was the thing when you said, but I do good work, basically. Yeah. Like I can get that trust, or really, it comes from not just my ethic, but the results. You see, so I think I just want to point that out to anyone listening. Yes, this is a panel of fire for sure, but it's a panel of fire that actually follows through and also accomplishes the goals and then connects with people. And I love how I had to do that. I had to go to a different high school, there's some childhood mistakes. But anyway, I love that how you said that he came back and you were like, you show up, I show up. Like, let's move. Because I know that some people have a different story, show up and tore down. It's like, man, all we had to do. So I just want to thank you for sharing that. And
So what's interesting is I immediately know exactly who that student is. And I think it is helpful. So thank you for mentioning that. It's such a good example. But interestingly, when I was at Common Ground, you could have argued that the way that I was supporting him, because technically there were some duties that I didn't have that I 1,000% without a shadow of a doubt knew were mine. And it was to drive that young man to Central for a tour, woke up early, drove down to New Haven, picked him up, dropped him right back off. And I was delighted to do it, right? And so I think that part of that follow through is allowing for a young person to see that beyond what I'm expected to do, I am delighted to see you through sort of where you are now, because I know you want to get there, and that it's not a burden, right, to do these things that are not on your job description, and that you enjoy doing it, not just in partnership with me as the young person, but also in partnership with the other adults. And I think that, might I say, our friendship, I think, really informed our work, because I think our friendship developed through our work, really seeing each other show up for the other young people. I was like, okay, this is someone who's invested in. The young people would see that, and they would come to our office. We had a shared office at the time, and that, I think, was that was the beginning of the demonstrations of when they come back, right? Because there's people in that office on the other side of that door that were invested and care for my success. And so no matter how many times I fail, I'm gonna come back. And so,
but just to speak to your story, right? And your commitment to the student and students in general. You no longer worked at the high school.
Correct.
And came down to get the student and drove them to Central.
Oh, yeah.
You were no longer even an employee. right? So if we're talking about purpose and commitment, right? You did the thing.
Solid point.
Yeah.
Solid point. And I appreciate that. And so to the point of what do you do when another adult says you're doing too much, then my inherent question is, okay, but first of all, how do you define too much? You're okay with less. You don't believe that the person receiving whatever they are receiving is worthy of that amount.
Right, are deserving of it.
Right? We have a philosophy of abundance, right? That reflects a philosophy of scarcity. But I think that that hopefully reflects what we would do, what we have done.
Okay. So now I'm going to jump back. I'm going to get back on. You just got me back on task with how you did that, because you're doing something. You're obviously living this out. My question is, what does equity then look like when it's lived and not just stated? Because you all are giving, I'm going to say, the evidence of caring, evidence of doing. Thank you for pointing that out. You know, that part right there. You didn't even work there anymore and you're still doing this. What does it look like when it's lived versus just talked about, I care about this, I value this?
Well, I think you mentioned it, and you'll appreciate this because you're churchy. But you said the evidence. But at church, we call that fruits, right?
That's right.
Right.
Yes,
so,
yes.
and Scripture teaches us to judge that you by the fruit that it bears, right? And so I think that is my measure now in this sort of season in my life, in this work, where I feel most aligned in my identity as an advocate and as I don't want to say healer of sorts, but really I'm invested in repairing harm across all systems that is caused across all systems. And so when I think about that work and how that reflects back to me in my day-to-day sort of, I'm here at this mission, that's sort of what I'm brought back to. I'm in alignment, I have an assignment. That is how you live it out.
Yes.
That you every day can wake up and know that you are determined, you have a purpose, you feel aligned with my to-do list, that whether it's paying me or not, I'm interested in the fruit, right? And so the fruit also suggests there's a period of harvest, and I think that the youth are worth the investment, people are worth the investment, patients are worth the investment, and so I think that if people can look at you and see what you value in simply just feeling your presence, then I feel like I'm winning.
Wait, please, wait, Ms. Candi, before you say so, you said so much there, you've been doing it the whole time. You said, I don't call myself a healer, but, I'm repairing harm. To me, that actually is healing. And I believe that when you can support someone from a healing place, and this goes back to what you said, Ms. Candi, when you said, it's like if you do all of the things well and connect with us, there's nothing you can't get them to do. Because they'll do whatever you ask them to do. So now if you help with their healing, you can educate them with something, and they're open to you now because they trust you. Because that's what you said, the trust. I think when the trust is there, I'm just staying in the church zone for a minute. And when that trust is there, then that love can show up. So healing to educating to loving. Once that love, I feel, is there, whether it's with your maker or with your creator or with the person, that relationship protects. That's where the P comes in. So so I have a framework called HELP, H-E-L-P. Heal, educate, love, protect. The relationship can protect. The friendship can protect. And there's something I want to, it's another question after you answer, like what I'm saying, but I wanted to know about the, just the benefits of you all working together, the trust of this relationship. But I just want to put that out there and say, I think that you are healing. And so with that, I'd like to then have you to answer that question.
And that's how I'm living equity.
Yes, ma'am.
I think it goes back to my statement about showing up, right? So I feel like whoever the person is, whether I know them or not, if I have something that they can benefit from, then it's for me to give to them, right? So if I have the knowledge or the skill, I received it or I have access to it, and it's my purpose to give it out to whoever needs it, right?
Okay.
And meeting students where they are is about making things equitable, right? If I meet you where you are, right, I don't make an assumption about what you need or how I can help you, right? Okay. Being equitable is about having access to the thing that you need, not making things like equal. So meeting people where they are, right? Even adults, right? You got to meet everybody, right? So just meeting people where they are and giving whatever resource or access I may have to whoever needs it.
Okay. So then on that, I think that there's a flow here. What's going on? Okay, so we got the rhythm. Okay, obviously that's how the restoration happens, right? But I think it stems back to your roots. Okay, so the question I want to ask is how does the words we have are rhythm, resilience, and reverence. But I'd like to know about the reverence part. It's like can you tell us how or what of your roots allow you to revere other people? Allow you to revere whether they are youth or adults, elders, whatever. But so I'd just like to know some more about your roots. Like what about your roots come into this way that you reverence people? Because that's what I'm really hearing. You are reverencing. The way you just talked about equity, not equal, giving them what they want to meet them where they are. Where'd that come from?
Ooh, that's so good.
Let's get it.
Okay. So what's interesting is that I genuinely believe Candi and I were supposed to meet. So I'm going to bring that full circle, right? So roots. So I previously mentioned that my father's a pastor, my mother's a teacher. So I have been hearing about the importance of the one soul, right? So the importance of you as a person. Everyone is worth access, resources, because what I grew up hearing was that our Creator wants us to be whole. And so that means whole in body, in mind, in spirit. And so I saw that lived out, like I previously said, and my father, literally, if he were homeless, and this was the part that would always get me as a young person, we would see a homeless around the corner on a Monday, and by Friday, my mother had swept all of our rooms for clothes, for things, and she would bring us all back, and I would fight her, but we saw that in our local community when she would, I would have to walk after school and meet her in the classroom. She was a teacher in Hartford. And we could never go home right away because she would want us to go and walk into the projects that were right next to the school and go door to door to all of the students that did not go to school that day, give them the lesson. And if they had heard, right, that's my mama, and if she's better. And if they did not, if the woman or the mom or the grandmother or the auntie said, so-and-so couldn't make it to school because she didn't have clothes, again, that was on a Monday. By Friday, our rooms were swept. And so I was taught that in order for me to show up fully for other people, I can't have attachments to things that I find valuable to my right now, because that has no meaning if someone like you is somewhere else struggling. That's not of God. My parents were like, that's not equity, right? And so to then grow up and go get into my career, this reverence piece really is informed through my faith. Okay. Because my faith tells me that he left the 99 just for the one. So that already teaches me that he finds us each individually valuable, and that informs my work. That the student is valuable, the auntie that gets him to school in the morning is valuable, the grandma that picks her up after school is valuable, the pastor that they go to and see on Sundays is valuable, just as the corner store guy that at the bodega that they see, that they know and have gotten to know over the years. So I think that there is not just reverence for the person, but for the village that supports the person. Wow. And I think that across my career, I've been able to step into those spaces and build my sense of reverence. And when I got to Common Ground, I really met other people that deeply revered their work and their opportunity and saw it as a privilege to teach their kids and see them through graduation, especially in communities where just getting to graduation alive is already like an accomplishment. So I think that we go into it already. It is a celebration in the morning, and people would laugh at us because we would have a whole party in the morning. She wouldn't, because that was
it's not my energy.
It's not her energy. But my energy was like,
about you right
good morning. But they knew it, and it worked, and it was fun, and that joy, it also paired with that reverence, really does repair harm and heals and gets people to come back across all systems, right? So.
Ooh, okay. Well,
how about you?
I like how you push the energy like, that's you.
But also, remember when you said equity and how does that show up in our friendship? I think that is it. Earlier, you didn't allow for me to wrap up a question without highlighting a piece that you knew was important, but I undervalued, right? And so this conversation, I felt not inadequate, but I'm not specifically in DEI work, but I working so closely with you, you're in DEI, I knew that she could contribute to the conversation. That is how I look at these opportunities, that I'm not just going to hold on to them, but if someone could make the conversation more inspiring, more creative, more productive, why not? But yes, you.
So the spiritual foundation was there, but I'm gonna speak more to, you mentioned the village.
Yeah.
So like in my family, everyone in my family was very much, yes, the village is strong, was very much about community. And it was, if we have the thing and someone else needs it, then you share it, right? And more can be accomplished with more people than less, right? So if one person is struggling, if everybody gets together, we can lighten that load. Right. So my experience has always been the elders in my family always supported those that came behind them. Right. So it was always, that was a part of the system. You always have to look out for whoever's coming behind you. And the goal should be that the person coming behind you, their experience should be better than yours. Right. So those are conversations I had with my parents. I come from a very large family. Everybody had a partner. I have a cousin that is 2 years older than me. My sister has a cousin that's the same age as her, right? Everybody has a partner. So you're responsible for that partner, right? So if they have a good day, you did a good job. If they have a bad day, then I'm confused at why they had a bad day, right? So if you're in the world and something's not right for them, then what are you not doing to make sure that they're not okay? Because you're responsible for this person and you're responsible for the people behind you. Right. So me and my cousin partner even went to the same college. Right. So we were at college together, and there were moments where either she wasn't doing something she was supposed to do, or I wasn't doing something that I was supposed to do. And we get a call like, well, y'all down there together. So I'm confused at why there's a problem. Right. Right. Because if you don't got it, she got it. And if she don't got it, you got it. Right. So there's always been, you are responsible for the person next to you in line, and also the people behind you. So you have to make it as good as you can for the person next to you. You have to make it better for the people behind you. And that's been my upbringing. So that's what I bring to spaces that I'm in. Right? If we're doing it together, I'm going to make it as good for you as I'm making it for me. And we got to make sure whoever comes behind us is even better for them. It should be easier for them than it was for you and the person next to you.
I want to apply this. I want to take what you're saying. I want to apply it in just like interactions with people based on what you said about how everyone is valuable. So my mom did the same thing to us. Same thing. Every time another child was born, I felt like the families were competing. Oh, you got one coming, I got one too. All right. So me and my cousins were like this. I try to now, like when I engage with someone, or like you come to my presence, I want you to feel better than you felt when you came in when you leave. But it's also because I don't know who you're going to see. And I don't know who you saw before you came to me. I just want to make sure that it's not worse when you leave me, and that I don't, like you said, repair harm, or that I'm repairing a harm in our interaction when we meet. Because that's how much I value you. And I notice like being up here in New Haven, coming from Alabama, we do things a little bit slower, calmer there. And I come up here, everything's kind of quick. But what I like is if you say something quickly in Alabama with someone with a smile, they'll adjust. I notice up here, if I say something to someone with a smile, maybe just a quick intent, keep moving, that they'll adjust because I think that we are kind of separated from each other in a lot of ways now. Of course, physically, but mentally, and I would even say spiritually. So that whole person you were talking about, you made me think about the philosophy of we all can't be whole until we're all whole. It's like I can't be the human I'm supposed to be, even though I'm going to strive for every day to every human is also there. So it means that I'm connected, that we are all connected. So that's just powerful how you said that, how your mom in particular, it's like that's not equity if we're having a good time when someone else is not. Nope. And how you said don't get attached to things right now because it doesn't mean anything. I hope everybody listening and watching is getting a lot and get your life together. Go heal somebody. Go love somebody. Say I'm sorry or I apologize. And brush your teeth and clean your body too. All right. Okay. So.
Okay.
Here we go. We getting there. Love as a framework for restorative justice. Love as a framework. I mentioned love. You're showing love. But you also mentioned love in your faith, and I know the same. I'd like to know is how do you already tell us how do you do it? You already told us examples of how you repair harm and do work to repair a system. What I'd like to know is how can love as a framework, I'll say it like that, repair or support the systems that you're in? Love as a framework, because you've already done it. You told us about your actions and what you do. And I just kind of want to ask a macro question.
Repeat it.
How can love as a framework repair or support the industries that you are in?
Okay. You have to have a love for people and a love for process. A love for the people that you serve. So I imagine my hope is that we are whole enough and aligned enough to pursue careers that allow for us to pour into people and solve problems, whether that be you solve problems in a cafeteria making meals so that people can eat, or you solve problems in a surgery room, right? Or in a classroom. And so I find that, because I'm bringing it back, to have a love for these people must also inform your capacity to support, remove barriers, and then make the process, whatever it is, better. So in my case, love in healthcare is attentive listening. It's in partnering so that they're a part of their plan of care, listening to their health concerns in relationship to the systems that they're part of, so that if you live in a house with 8 people and all of them have chronic emphysema and they're smokers and you are trying, right? So again, it really speaks to the totality. So love has to recognize the totality of people, and that harm, when it is caused, creates an imbalance, and that we have to go in with a sense of ownership to want to make it balanced and harmonious again. And I think that love is harmony, love is patient, right? And I think that now, and I say now because who knows, I have career ADHD, I may go back to education. But I think now I feel like I'm called to stay in healthcare to help bring love back to care. And so I'm surprised by how love deficient healthcare is right now. But I assume positive intent, and I believe that my colleagues wake up every day wanting to make people's lives better. But the state of the world is a barrier for some people, right? And so I think love is the biggest form of resistance for all of those sort of barriers, right?
You said something that I need to. You said something I need to work on. Love of processes, Lord.
And I don't like them either. Interestingly, I don't like them either because my expertise is the people. But in this specific role, I am learning to love process. And that's hard. That's hard. But it helps me create value for personalities like Candi's. You're deeply methodical, strategic. You have an operational mind in a way that I don't. And remember when we were talking about equity and how that informs a friendship, there were many times where we would be in meetings and I would say out loud, I'm not good with this and I'm not good. And you told me, I need you to stop saying that in these meetings. And so I think that loving process is also recognizing what areas you're deficient in so that you could find the people that you can partner with so that it can improve the process. Because that is deeply loving someone, understanding where you can't meet their need and tapping into that tool.
You fixing lives and maybe saving souls. Y'all might be doing something else on this one. Okay? I just want to say preach. Shoot, man. Hey, man, I woke up this morning thinking this was going to go somewhere else. I'm starting to heat up in a good way. Like, okay, all right, I am going
We're about to leave here healed.
Let's do this.
We're leaving healed.
You daggone right. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I think love allows for vulnerability for the student. Right? So like the spaces that I work, students usually come with some type of deficit, right? So before coming to Common Ground, I worked for New Haven Reads, which is a literacy program, and our students would come in reading below grade level, right? And again, thinking about trust and thinking about being vulnerable, right? The loving on the student to let them know that it's okay, right? That this is where you are and we're going to get you to where you want to go. I think creates a safe space for them to feel comfortable to say that they failed or they didn't meet the expectation or they don't have the skill to do the thing. And I think making space for people to be like, I may not know how to do this thing, but we're not going to talk about that right now in front of these people who are here to like give you this challenge, right? It's a challenge. It's not that you can't do it. It's a challenge, right? It's a muscle you just have to build, right? And we have to speak positively over ourselves. Like we have to affirm what we want over how we may be in the moment. And I think teaching students that, teaching people that, right? Like I said this earlier, but it's not necessarily about the success of the situation. It's about the lesson you get from it, right? And I think love allows people to be grounded in that. It's about the lesson, not about necessarily the outcome.
And that changes the culture.
Yeah.
How do you mean?
Well, right now you're leading school culture, right? And so when I think about love as a framework, that in essence changes the school culture, both for the adults and the.
So it's more about trying,
right,
than it is about winning, right?
Okay.
Right. So you learn the lesson you can learn a lesson even in the failure, right? And if you're going from that starting point, you are more likely to try to do something you feel uncomfortable with, opposed to being like, well, I'm not going to do it right. I don't want to do it at all. There are many things that if you didn't at least try, you don't even know. You might be able to do it the right way, or you might figure out that you really enjoy doing something that you didn't know about or didn't have access to because the fear of, well, I'm not going to do it the correct way the first time. So I think changing the students' mindset around how to approach something, right, comes from them feeling loved by the person who's supporting them through that process, right?
Wow. Okay. Just one person can, of course, affect an entire system. And then because you affect multiple, then that multiple go and that multiples you to help one person or one family and it just multiplies. Okay. So then with that, what seeds, bringing it back to the school environment, y'all, what seeds are you planting for the future? I already know that you're planting people that are going to grow into amazing trees and stuff. I just want to go and say it, you know what I'm saying? But what other seeds are you planting that you're seeing? No, answer it like this. What seeds are you planting that you're seeing right now that's grown? And for the future, how about that? Because as you said, not evidence of, I'm good at what I do. Then that leads to the trust. Okay, love, makes it so that people will open up to you as vulnerable, as free. What seeds are you seeing now that have grown, and then what do you see coming in the future?
Think about that.
I knew I had them, y'all. I knew it. Meaning, I knew that they have a lot to answer. That's what I mean. I knew I would have them. Yes.
Well, to go back to the make it better for the people behind you.
Yes, ma'am.
I think I've seen the fruits of that labor, right? So I've seen people who have come behind me that my experience and my existence really in spaces make it easier for them to be in spaces, right? So like in spaces that I've worked, whether it's women or women of color that have come behind me, conversations are different for them because of the work or what I had to deal with, right?
Okay.
I think students have come back to me and said that having a teacher that looks like me is able to connect with them the way that I was able to connect with them, allowed them to be successful in spaces, right? Even if it was advocating for themselves, right? Because they felt comfortable enough to come to me to ask me how to do a thing. They knew that that's something that they could do in college or in the workplace or, right? And I often say this to my students and to just people I interact with. If you learn nothing else from me, I want you to learn that you can say the thing or do the thing. You just have to apply yourself, right? Like everything is just a challenge, right? And you have to decide how you want to navigate that challenge because there are really only two options. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. There's not really a gray. It's either a yes or a no. Yes. And no could lead you down one path and yes can lead you down another path. But you just have to decide. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it.
I want to adapt something that you said, kind of like in the zone of church and stuff. Whenever I hear a test, I remember when I was younger, it triggered me. Everything's a test. I think if I would have heard everything was a challenge, like in life, and then that, the Most High would get me through, I think I would have taken it better. Because I don't necessarily believe that I'm tested like that. I don't think the universe tests me, but challenge, I do believe that, and then like you said, it's one or the other answer. You're either going to do it, you're going to meet it and do it, or you're going to meet it and not do it. You're going to meet it and accomplish it, or you're going to make a decision. But the real thing is the lesson in between, which one you...
Yeah.
That's I'm getting my life today too. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
How about you? Seeds. Oh, wait a minute. Wait.
Right, seeds for the future.
Future. Okay, because you gave me now.
Right.
What's up
She
with
did.
the future?
Seeds for the future.
So seeds I'm planting now for the future.
Because you said you saw it already.
Right.
You saw
I've
the future.
seen, right. I don't know. I may need a little bit more time with that one.
Okay.
Seeds for the future. Oh no.
Oh.
I don't think I got there yet. I think we're working on that.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good. She's in a fertile place. We're thinking.
Yeah.
Right? We're looking for that soil.
Right.
I'm reaching.
All the way. Soil. Okay.
Listen, but
That's a good reach.
But it is.
Because I called it.
And she is, right? We may not be ready to plant.
Yeah.
And that's valid. Because that suggests transition, right?
Okay.
No, please keep talking. No.
Well, if I may,
that makes
right?
sense,
please.
Right? As we think about career growth, personal growth, and all of that, I think that sometimes that brings us to not just different mental spaces, but physical spaces. And you could argue that speaks to the terrain, the soil, right? And we may have to leave one place because it's no longer fertile soil. And right,
come on, church.
Come on.
and so I think you might just be in the space of looking for new territory to then steward the sprinkle your seed. Come on
now.
Okay, well, if you're putting it that way, then I think seeds that I've planted that I'm seeing the fruit is me working with young people, looking forward about future is working with adults.
Okay.
Right? So I think I'm currently in a transition, right? Where my role has been more adult facing, and thinking about like systems. it takes a while to get the kids on track and help them get to the place, right? Mm-hmm. But if I could work with adults and train more adults to do some of the things that I'm doing, I could then reach more students. So I think if we're talking about transition, that's the space that I want to be in, training more adults to be more present in the way that has worked for me, and I've seen work for students. Okay. So I think that would be a future.
That's powerful. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Previously, I think I've seen the fruits of my love. I think across the previous sort of roles that I've had over time. Definitely because my favorite is when I go out into stores or out in the world and I hear Miss Lopez and they're in full-blown careers. And number one, that reminds me of how old I am. But number two, just of how much they are excited to celebrate with me and reflect back to me the seeds of love, right? That because perhaps they might not be so physical and giving hugs, but I tend to bring that out in kids that tend to not to be that expressive. So I think definitely love, I've seen the fruits of. Now, love and joy. And then I think now, as I move forward, I too have this curiosity to work with adults because I think that our adults are hurting, right? I think I've dedicated a career to youth and their parents and their caregivers. But now I have a heart for people that might feel isolated, sort of alone in navigating these systems. So I really want my seeds of joy and advocacy to really bear fruit in this time. Because rights are being stripped away. I think identities are being attacked. So if I could sort of be sort of a microphone to people and spread that now, I feel like I'm called to do that now, right? In a world that feels like it's falling apart.
Wow. I just want to say, we talked about environmental joy in a previous episode. And, and of course, it stems from the love of the people. And the guests that we had have more of a legal, and like you, an academic background, but more of a legal background. And they saying something very similar for the same reason. People being torn down right now. And so when we talk about environmental justice, which we talk about a lot here in the school, to have things reframed as environmental joy, shifts how I think about stuff and how I behave, in the moment. And also what my mind is focused on, right? To me, it's so many messages that we're seeing, hearing, that tells us that we're not pretty enough, that we're not financially stable enough, that we're not good enough. But when I focus on the joy, right, I don't listen to that. I stop it and I don't say that to people. Like you said, when you say, don't say I can't, I turn it around. And what you're saying is just, it's further reminding me to keep doing that and affirming that. And what I also love is that you say youth and adults. So you're the whole spectrum. And then as you said, whole person, a whole people. So our last question, I'm enjoying this. Thank y'all so much. The closing call to heal forward. We celebrate Earth Day here, okay? School of the Environment. We celebrate a number of things here, but it's all deals with the planet.
When you came to Common Ground.
That's right.
To celebrate Earth Day.
Celebrate Earth Day. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So how? I don't want to assume it, but being that we all have an environmental background in a way, right? Education background, we all three have. Do you have or entertain or employ a resolution for Earth Day? One just, I would say like this, period, like whatever it may mean to you, or in your work or in your service. Like, is there, a resolution or an idea that you have for Earth Day?
Hear me out.
Listen.
She laughs at me because whenever I say hear me out, it usually is followed by either outrageous requests or really creative and fun ideas. Thank you.
Let them use you. Listen.
Feel free to use that word. So working in hospitals, the hospital I currently work at and the one where I was previously, the access to green spaces is very, very limited, right?
Okay.
And so I'm convinced that in looking at public health and how to integrate access to green spaces to support their healing, no one's talking about that at all. Like, I've never heard a conversation held at the hospital about how we can support health and healing, not just for the patients, but for the guests that are coming in to sort of support. So how dope would it be if, as you're visiting your loved one, that you can either go to a rooftop garden or to a dedicated space outside that's solely meant for gatherings, maybe even conversations with a provider if you don't want to have it inside. So I would love to see that. I have not at all engaged that, and maybe that could happen as a result of this conversation. But I don't just see that as an opportunity at the healthcare system that I work in, different part of the state, but also here in this community. No one looks at green spaces as an area that could be helpful for healing in healthcare. So I would love to share that idea to someone who would listen. But as an immediate idea, going outside, on Earth Day, I said that I'm hosting my usual huddle that I have to lead every day at 9. We're doing it outside.
Okay.
Because the first place that I ever heard about walking meetings was at Common Ground. So that was a seed that was planted in me, that meetings don't have to happen inside in a room. They can, in fact, happen as you go for a walk.
And I'll give you a tip. If you want the meeting to end faster, have it walking up some stairs. Yeah, I promise you. Leave you alone. I had so many times students go
up the stairs. Listen, I'll be getting quiet real quick.
It was so easy, man, when students would come by and talk to me. Hey, Dr. Easley, can I talk to you? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Come with me. And then we'll start walking. I
We're going to try that very concise.
The meeting ended quick.
I do it now. Let's go.
Go. Yes. I promise you, I can end this meeting real fast because you're going to be catching your breath. Yes. I'm catching my thoughts. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I do that with my students.
Do you really?
Really?
When they come, I'd be like, let's walk and talk. It's more concise if you're moving.
True.
It's more concise.
What's your Earth Day?
But Earth Day, thinking about accessing outdoor spaces, being at Common Ground is a very large campus. And I think something that has been helpful for me is going into those spaces away from other people. Just to kind of get myself together after those challenging conversations with coworkers or students or parents, right? And I think making that a real thing for young people, right? So being outside doesn't mean you have to be actively doing something. You can just be enjoying the space, right? So something that I've done more recently that has been very helpful is hiking. So getting more people involved in that and what that can look like, right? It doesn't always have to be Mount Everest, right? It could be a different experience.
From here to there.
Right. And just getting more people outside, I think, is important to me.
Well, I think this has been an amazing, interview. I know it has because we've all laughed, we've all shared. So as I bring this to a close, I just want to ask if you have any final thoughts about. But when I say about, I just want to cover. We talked about healing. We talked about restoration. We've talked about education. We've talked about patient advocacy. We've talked about the environment and being that they both also have that background working at Common Ground, is a great institution here in the city of New Haven. We've talked about youth. We've talked about supporting elders. We've talked about supporting families. We've talked about your roots. We've talked about your faith. We've talked about your challenge, meeting the test or meeting it. Is there anything else, that I have neglected or just, forgot to ask you about that aligns either within that vein of all of that, which is, I think, is restoration, healing, roots, rhythm. And if we good on that, okay, cool. Then is there just anything else you just Thomas, I just want to leave them with this thought? And if you want to answer both, we're good with that. Okay. So anything, the last thought, anything within that sphere of what we're saying, then you go, we covered that, and it's just in the last thought.
I mean, I think for me, we've had a pretty comprehensive conversation that I think reflects my value for the totality of a person. So I appreciate really the conversation. Looking forward, I really just want to really remind folks to see the fullness of someone and to look at themselves as being capable, a capable contributor to their wholeness, right? That every single time you occupy space, bring joy and leave it there. Don't take it with you when you leave the space. I think there's something to be said with being preservers of joy, disruptors of systems, and owners, right, of people's balance and harmony. So,
wait, disruptive systems, balancing people's harmony, preservers of joy. Quotables. Drop the mic.
But
Yes.
how about you?
I mean, it's hard to follow. But I guess I would say just make things better for the people that come behind you.
Do the dishes.
That's it. No, you make it better for the people
Concise.
come behind you. Concise.
That's
okay.
very right on brand.
And when we're sitting there, we're not even walking. Look at that concise. See, you do it enough, you learn how to do that.
Right on.
I really want to thank you, Ms. Candi, Ms. Sharyn, for coming down, because you've elevated our podcast. I think the way that we did this episode, I think, is the way that friendships or relationships should happen. Meaning, someone says, I want to talk. Sure, let's have a conversation. And then before the talk, I think someone else can contribute to it. Sure, bring them along. Me, be open, vulnerable, as you said. And I got educated today. I actually feel like some repair happened for me. You know, I experienced a lot of harm in education and even in academia. So there's so much that you shared that opens my mind and my heart to situations that I've had that allows me to heal, because I can forgive and keep it moving. So I want to thank you all for being examples of that, sharing your brilliance, boldness, just all of that, and doing what you do for the community, whether it's Hartford, whether it's New Haven, or whether it's all of Connecticut or this region. It's Heartwood, y'all. Of course, my brother's in the background and right here in the room. So I also want to always thank Isaac Carew, thank Brother Bennett Lupo, thank YSC. We're here, in Croon. It's always beautiful to be here on campus. I think my brother's always making it easy for me and for us. And thank you all for tuning in. This is another episode of the Heartwood Podcast. I'm your co-host, Thomas Richard Easley. Go in peace, go in grace. Till next time, we out.
Man. I feel like I should have been, you know what I missed? I should have told the people, y'all should all know that the state regulates. No, I'm serious.
No, that's why I keep recording. Keep talking.
Okay, all right. So everyone should really know that I'll speak for the state of Connecticut. The state of Connecticut has several health institutions that are regulated by the Department of Public Health, the Joint Commission, these accrediting sort of bodies, right? And they say, right, that patients that are receiving care at these respective institutions have to have a formalized place where they can bring their complaints and grievances to. Not every institution calls this role an ombudsman, but they may call them patient advocates, patient representatives. But not very many people that navigate healthcare because they have chronic diseases and have to show up to these facilities often know that if ever they have any issue with their plan of care, their provider, they think that there was medical neglect, errors in medication administration. The spectrum is huge. They are able to report that complaint to this specific office. So for the state of Connecticut, I know of Yale New Haven, and I also know of Hartford Healthcare, where they have offices of patient relations whose sole responsibility is to take and investigate your complaint. And bring your complaint forward and bring it to the highest level of administration to listen to that complaint and to bring that complaint to a resolution within 14 days. We have legally up to 30. But oftentimes, what people don't know is that if they're experiencing many hours in the wait, in the ED, they're not getting an update, their medication's coming late, those are